In this video, we're going to look at how we work with positive and negative numbers. So, how do we add, subtract, multiply, and divide when we have plus and minus numbers? So let's recap on our Slánuimhreacha. So these are our positive and negative whole numbers, denoted by the capital letter Z. So minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2, continuing to infinity in both directions. So again, positive and negative whole numbers. So this means we don't include fractions or any decimals. So let's look at some examples. We know plus 8 plus 2 will give us 10. We're noticing that the signs are the same, so we add and we keep the sign of the bigger number. So both the numbers have the same sign, we add and we keep the sign. If we look at this on a number line, it just helps us to visualize it sometimes. So we're starting at 8 and we're adding 2, we're moving to the right by 2 units and we end up at 10. Now let's look at it when we have two negative numbers. So minus 8 minus 2 is going to give us minus 10. So again, when we have the same sign, we add the numbers and we keep the sign. So if we look at our number line again, if we're starting again at minus 8 and we're subtracting 2, this time we're moving 2 to the left and we end up at minus 10. So we don't always need to use the number line, but sometimes it can just help us to visualize what we're actually doing. So again, to generalize, the rule that we use is when we have the same sign, we add the numbers and we keep the sign. So let's look at some examples now when we have two different signs. So we know 8 minus 2 is equal to 6. But let's talk about the rule that goes with this. If we then look at minus 8 plus 2, we get minus 6. Okay, so similar, but we get two different results. In this case, when we have different signs, the rule that we follow is that we subtract if we have different signs, and we keep the sign of the bigger number. So different signs, subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. So I'm putting the bigger in inverted commas here because we're looking at the bigger number without the sign at all. So in this case, 8 is the bigger number. So a few more examples. 6 minus 4, different signs, so I subtract to keep the sign of the bigger number, and we get 2. Minus 12 plus 5, subtract to keep the sign of the bigger number, so we get minus 7. If we have 4 minus 8, we subtract to keep the sign of the bigger number, we get minus 4. Minus 6 plus 5, subtract to keep the sign of the bigger number, so we get minus 1. So the same rules apply with positive and negative numbers with algebra, so make sure you're okay with all of the basics in this video before you move on. Try some examples yourself and check them on the calculator.